good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? All right, great. Okay, so the title of my talk is Easily Transform XML Documents into Odoo Documents. I'm Stefan Keller. I'm the CEO of Sodexis. Before I start, let me just tell you a few words about Sodexis. So, as an Odoo partner since 2012, Sodexis has been helping manufacturing and distribution companies across the US and Europe to basically improve their efficiency by implementing the Odoo ERP solution with the highest return on investment possible. So really our primary goal is to always help our customer go through the implementation process successfully. And actually, to better serve our European customers, we just opened an office in Geneva, Switzerland. We have about 40 employees, and we have all the roles needed for a successful implementation. So we have business analyst team, we have a development team, we have system admin team, and we even have a bookkeeper to help some of our customers with the accounting part, okay? So we can really help you at any level that you need. We've helped, very small companies that don't have any IT departments, then we do it all. But we have also helped very large companies that have their own IT department. They might involve even extra other partners, and we just work with them, and we bring the extra knowledge that they don't have, okay? All right, so see, it's a very short agenda. It's just it's a short talk. First, an introduction. Why did we decide to do this? And then I'll go straight into a demo. So, as for everything that we do, we always do based on our customer need, of course, okay? And we had a customer that in the US needed an EDI connector. For those that don't know, EDI means electronic data interchange. What does that mean? That means that you exchange documents electronically between the customer and the vendor. So, for example, the customer is going to send a purchase order, so-called 850 document to the vendor, and then the vendor might will also send back document to the customer, such that the ASN, the shipping confirmation, or an invoice document, the A10. Okay, and in the US, big retailers sometimes require EDI if you want to work with them, like Walmart, Lowe's, Wayfair. And so forth and so on, and I'm assuming it's the same in Europe, okay? So if you know a little bit about EDI, you know that there are many, many standards, okay? ANSI, ADFAC, TRACACOMS, and so forth and so on, okay? And actually, for each standard, there are many different versions, okay? So even though EDI sounds good, sounds like it makes your life easier, it's actually very complex to implement, okay, because of all those things. And, on top of that, each customer might have a different API, okay, and a different type of API. So it's very complex to, connect to multiple customers. If you have just one customer, it's pretty fine, you just connect to them. But if you have multiple customers and large customers, then it's very difficult, okay? As a result of that, there's been a lot of integrators that have surfaced. They provide a service, they connect to all the large customers, and then you only need to connect to them. Okay, so it makes your life easier. You don't have to connect to all the customers. You just connect to that integrator, and it makes your life easier. Okay, of course, that's a service, so you have to pay them. Okay, so there's a cost associated with that. Here are some examples of integrators, at least in the US, SPS Commerce, EasyCom, True Commerce, and there are many, many more, okay, that doing that type of service, okay? And what we notice is that most of those integrators, they accept document using, they send and they receive document using FTP and XML. That's the reason we decided to build not only an FTP app within Odoo, but also to design an XML converter that enables us to transform an XML document into an Odoo document, okay? It seemed to be a common denominator of all those integrators, so that's what made sense to us, okay? This way we could connect to basically any integrator, okay? It still needs to be quite flexible because each customer still has different requirements and fields, okay? So you might think that once you connect to one integrator, that's it, you're done. Well, not quite, because then each customer still has have their own quirks, okay? they'll have different requirements, different fields, and so forth and so on. So, we thought, okay, we really need to have a flexible system, and so we decided to use what we call translation tables, okay? So basically, and we have used this concept in other, environments. So for example, we designed a system to import large amount of data, okay, and we use the same kind of IDs, okay? The idea is that we can tell Odoo how to match, each element in the XML document to a field in Odoo. And of course, we all know Odoo knows, the type of fields, okay, that you selected. And then in the code, we can use that to figure out how to transform the XML and document, the XML element into, the Odoo field, okay? All right, so I'll go to the demo. All right, so first of all, this is, basically a demo system that we set up. It's basically a copy of one of our customers that probably has the most advanced EDI system. Okay, multiple customers, and again, each customer, has different requirements, and so it took us actually a long time to set that up. And so here's the, FTP app. At the end, it's quite simple. You just enter the credentials. You have the directory list. You have, here buttons that let you sync the FTP structure, download, the file or upload the file. You can do everything from here. Of course, we always have, schedule action that are going to do that automatically for you. But here you can see, for example, we have the age 50. That's, the purchase order that the customer is sending, okay? So there's, we connect to the integrator. We ask the integrator to, send the file to the FTP side. We collect the file from the FTP side. And here, we have a list of the FTP directories. And if I just focus on the age 50, I'm just going to focus on that for this talk. You can see here that, there's only, a couple that were downloaded from the FTP site here. But that gives you the files that have been downloaded. And here, that module is integrated with our EDI module. And here we can give the corresponding, translation table that those files correspond to, okay? And so if there's an EDI translation table defined here, when the file is downloaded, then we also create the XML document into Odoo. So let me switch to the EDI app. So if I go to the main thing, to the main dashboard, we have the EDI app here. And when you get there, you get to the EDI data. Each of those lines here correspond to a different, translation tables. So we're going to focus on the, translation table that's going to transform the purchase order that the customer sent into a sales order into Odoo. Here you can see that we also do this with vendor bills. So this customer is doing a lot of shipping every day, maybe 200, 300 shipment every day. They do it with LTL, so they have a lot of shipping company that they work with. And those shipping companies, they send their invoices via EDI as well, okay? And so here, we create vendor bills. And then, of course, there are the documents that we create from Odoo and we send back to the integrator, such as a purchase order acknowledgement, and then ASN, that's a shipment confirmation. We even send the inventory to the, the customer, such that they know how much, this specific customer has in their inventory and how much they can sell, okay? All right, so, but if I just look at the conversion of the purchase order into the sales order, I'll take the first one. So you can see here, so we have the XML document. We can look at it a little bit. So this one is quite long, okay? You're going to see, the header, file document. Then at the top here, we have just, element that correspond to who the customer is. I just changed the name of the customer to just try to have a little bit of anonymity here. they send like what's the purchase order number. Then we can get into the header. We have like, date, some date information. Notice that the date, element will repeat it, repeat several times. I don't want to go into too much detail. Here you have the name that are going to give you some of the, like shipping address, for example. And then if you go down, finally we get to the detail with the detail lines where, each of the products that are being bought is being described, okay? All right, so then I guess I can just do a little demo. I'll just duplicate this one. I'll change the purchase order number here because we have a uniqueness constraint on that, so that we make sure we don't import twice the same purchase order the same purchase order. So I'll just process that. Hopefully that works. All right, done. And so here you can see that the sales order has been created. We can take a look at that. Okay, so the system will find who's the customer. We can set up the invoice address either from the document itself or from a default invoice address that's set up in the system. The delivery address comes from the from the XML file. And as you can see, for example, we're also going to trigger all the on change of all the fields, okay, such that we get all the secondary field correct in the system. And then here you can see, all the products that are being ordered by that customer, okay. So if I go back to the XML document, let's go to the translation table. So here my goal is not to train you on the translation table, is to just give you a little flavor, okay, of how it works, okay. So, here we just have the name, the XML header, that's the header, the main header of the XML file, such that the system can detect, where to start. The Odoo model reference, that's the document that's going to be created. So it's not really limited to EDI in the sense that, with this system, we can create any document in Odoo, okay? So from any XML document, you can create an Odoo document, any Odoo document, okay? That's just the company, so it's multi-company as well. I'll skip that. The type, it's incoming, so it's an incoming document in this case, but we can also manage the outgoing document. This is a main process, so you'll see that if I have enough time, I'll show that, for example, we have the order lines, and the order lines, if you think about it, it's exactly like the same as the main process. So we manage the order lines the same way with the same translation table, but it's a sub-translation table then, okay? And so we need to indicate when we have a main process, when the translation table is for a main process or not. So we do that there. We can define default values that are going to be automatically taken into account. We also have options such as, triggering a server action before you create the document. Same thing after the import. So that can be useful. For example, here, this customer use the AvaTax, so it's to compute the taxes in the US. And so we need to trigger that at the end to make sure that the taxes are properly calculated if needed, and other things, so that can be very useful. Oops. So, just a few examples. So this is the XML document, customer number, and we're going to match that to the partner ID field in Odoo. We're going to trigger the on change because every time you select the partner, you want to select all the secondary fields. And then we also tell the system which field to search in Odoo. Okay, so on REST partner, on the partner window, we're going to search that EDI ID field to give us the actual customer. Okay, so the XML ID is sending us the customer number. and based on that, we find the customer in Odoo, okay? Pretty simple. Location number, you see here we have default value. We can also, you can actually enter here some coding as well. So here we're telling the system it cannot be bulk, it cannot be bulk. I don't have the time to explain why we did that, but the point is that if it says bulk, then we put the XML document into an exception state, and then somebody can come and review it in 5 minutes. Whoa, okay, 5 minutes only, all right? So a couple more. Same thing here with the purchase order number. Here, we're going to fill out that field, the customer reference, and we're going to search if the record already exists, okay? So, and here, just to give you an example here of searching for the shipping address. For example, in this case, there's several elements that are called name, all right, that give us an address, okay? But we only want to select one of those elements, okay? And so we do that with the XML selection child. So there's a sub-element of that element that tells us that's the shipping address, okay? And so we can tell the system, just pick that element, okay? And then, of course, we trigger the on change. And then, because the customer is sending us, in this case, it's sending us, of course, all the information about the address, we go to a sub-translation table where we can set up the address, okay? Same idea as the main process, okay? We even have the system where if the field match, and here we had to do a full match, so if all the field match an already existing record, then we use the record, and if not, then we create the record, okay? So, so the whole idea is simply that we tell Odoo how to match the XML element with the Odoo field, okay? And of course, in the code, we know what type of Odoo field is selected, and based on that, we can figure out how to make transform the XML element into the Odoo field. That's the basic principle, okay? All right, I'm running out of time, so let me just finish. Let me go to my conclusion, what you should remember. All right, so this module creates documents in Odoo from XML document, and again, it can create any document in Odoo, not just sales order, invoices, shipping, any document. You can import the XML documents via FTP, XML RPC, API, or directly even into the database, okay? So it's very flexible. You don't need to be a developer to set up the translation tables, but I think as you already saw, but obviously an understanding of the type of field is going to be necessary, okay? So you can get a business analyst to set those up, but they have to have some technical knowledge, okay? It still takes time, even though we did all of that, even though it's much easier to set up than, if you don't have that system, because each customer have their own requirements, okay? But at least you can just focus on that part, okay? You can figure out, try to find their documentation, figure out all the fields that are required and needed, and then focus on that as opposed to writing the code to transform, the document they send you into a document in Odoo. It's very easy to modify. So, whenever you just need to go and modify the translation table. So there's no code change when you need to add a field or change a field. So that part is really very easy. The app is actually available on the App Store on V13, V14, V15. Nobody is buying it at this point, but it's not, I think it's probably a little bit too scary, maybe, okay? But we have a lot of our customers that are using it, okay? And one of them is actually here, okay? And actually, they just extended it, okay? I learned yesterday. They extended the module to ED facts documents. So If I'm not mistaken, they changed just the output. Instead of creating XML document, then they went to create edifacts with a Python library, okay? So again, this can really be extended, right? I mean, to any type of document if you think about it, okay? Basically, you would just take your document, transform it into an XML document, and then the rest would be handled by this module. We have a lot more apps. We have credit management, although I think this one might be obsolete with V16 based on what we learned over the last 2 days. We also have a finance charges. We have a prepayment on purchase order. I gave another talk on Wednesday on that if you're interested. We have a module that extends what Odoo is doing with authorized.net. We do everything. You can manage everything about credit cards on the back end. We have a return management app. We have contributed a lot to the Avatax app that Oka has, and we also added the management of Avatax exemptions in Odoo as opposed to having to go to Avatax. We have shipping terms. We have the import app that I was already talking about that's using the same idea of translation tables. We have an import scripts app that basically you set up a talent job. That's an ETL tool that enables you to run your data through a script and then import them into Odoo. But we have also just you can do that with a button in Odoo. We have a little app that checks the availability up till today plus n days. Odoo checks the availability of all your delivery orders. In this case, we just limit it to a specific number of days from today. And we have many more, and some of those are on the app stores, but certainly not all of them. And that's it. If you can visit us at our booth if you have more questions. And we have open positions for business analysts in the US and Switzerland if you're interested.
Okay, so questions, anyone?
Nope. It was very clear then? Okay, very good. Well, if you have some more questions, just come and see me afterwards, okay? Thank you.